In Hollywood, talent wasn't enough. Riva Knox learned that the hard way. The night her boyfriend stole her song, her entire world went up in flames. Betrayal came first. Then came the silence, the kind that ends careers. But in the ashes, someone was watching. Someone powerful. Someone dangerous. And the message he sent would change everything. The bass line was still playing in Riva Knox's head when she walked into the studio and found her entire world on fire. She'd written Bloodline in the early hours of morning 3 months ago, her voice raw and aching as she'd laid down the demo track. It was the song that would change everything, her breakout, her moment, the culmination of 7 years scraping by on background vocals and open mic nights in dive bars across Los Angeles. Her label had promised her a rollout strategy, a careful build, a release date that would position her perfectly for award season. But there it was, blasting from the monitors, her song, her words, her melody, coming from her boyfriend's mouth. "Turn it off," Riva whispered. Kevin didn't even look at her. He was too busy watching himself on the screen, his performance on the late-night stage already going viral. His caption underneath read, "New single Bloodline out now. Wrote this one from the soul." The studio engineer, Jake, who'd worked with her for 2 years, couldn't meet her eyes. "Turn it off." Her voice cracked on the last word. Kevin finally turned, and the smile on his face was something she'd never seen before. Triumphant. Cruel. "Babe, listen to the response. It's already got 2 million views. This is what we needed." "We?" The word tore out of her. "You leaked my song. You stole my..." "Stole?" Kevin laughed, running a hand through his perfectly styled locks. "Riva, come on. We wrote it together. You laid down a rough idea, sure, but I developed it. I gave it structure. I made it work." He gestured at the screen like it proved something. "Look at what I did with it. This is bigger than anything you could've." She slapped him. The crack of skin on skin echoed in the small space. Her palm stung. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Kevin touched his cheek, his expression darkening. "You're being emotional. This is business, Riva. You should be thanking me for giving your little song the platform it deserves." She left before she could do something worse. 48 hours later, her life was rubble. Her label suspended her rollout indefinitely, citing creative disputes and unclear ownership. The producers who'd been lined up for her album ghosted her calls. Her social media, never huge but growing, became a war zone. Kevin's fans called her bitter, jealous, a leech trying to ride his success. Industry blogs ran headlines like "Singer claims boyfriend stole song, sour grapes or real beef." Kevin went on 3 podcasts and told the same story each time. He discovered her singing in a small venue, taken her under his wing, helped her develop her raw talent. Bloodline was the culmination of his mentorship. He'd written the hook, restructured the verses, produced the final version. She was hurt because she wasn't ready for the big leagues yet. "She's talented," he said on the Industry Hour podcast, his voice dripping with condescension. "But she's not there yet, you know? She needs more time, more development." I tried to tell her that this song needed my touch to really shine, and instead of being grateful, she's trying to tear me down. Riva watched the interview from her tiny apartment in Silver Lake, eating cereal straight from the box because she'd forgotten to buy milk. Again. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her label, "We need to discuss your future with us." She knew what that meant. They were going to drop her. 7 years. 7 years of singing other people's songs, of writing in stolen moments between shifts at the restaurant, of pouring every dollar she made into demos and studio time. 7 years of Kevin telling her he believed in her, that they were a team, that her voice was magic. All of it, gone. She was about to throw her phone across the room when it buzzed again. Unknown number. The text was simple, Constellation Tower. Penthouse. 8 p.m. tomorrow. Come alone. K. Eugene. Riva stared at the name. Everyone in the industry knew Kong Eugene. He owned Zenith Media Group, which controlled half of Hollywood's distribution channels, streaming platforms, and production studios. He was South Korean, impossibly wealthy, and rumored to be connected to organizations that made the traditional Hollywood power players look like children playing dress-up. People whispered about him at parties, about deals that closed too quickly, about competitors who suddenly withdrew from projects, about the cold precision with which he dismantled anyone who crossed him. He never did interviews. He rarely appeared in public. When he did, photographers captured a man who looked carved from marble, devastatingly handsome in a way that felt dangerous, with sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that revealed nothing, and an athletic build that his perfectly tailored suits couldn't quite hide. Riva had seen him once, at an industry showcase 2 years ago. He'd sat in the back of the venue, alone, while lesser executives crowded the VIP section. She'd been singing a jazz standard, and when she'd glanced toward the shadows, she'd found him watching her with an intensity that had made her miss a note. She'd thought about that moment more than she wanted to admit. And now he wanted to see her. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something else entirely, a dangerous flicker of hope. Constellation Tower was downtown, all glass and steel and old money. Riva stood in front of it at 7:55 p.m., wearing the only professional dress she owned, black, simple, fitted just enough to be appropriate, and tried to calm her racing heart. The lobby was marble and minimalism. A receptionist who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine directed Riva to a private elevator that required a keycard. The doors closed with a whisper, and she rode up in silence, watching the city drop away beneath her. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Riva stepped into a space that redefined luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Los Angeles in every direction, the city lights glittering like stars. The decor was understated but clearly expensive: dark wood, leather, chrome, and glass. Art that she suspected was original hung on the walls, bold, modern pieces that quietly announced obscene wealth. And in the center of it all, standing with his back to her as he looked out at the city, was Kong Eugene. He was taller than she'd expected. Broader. Even from behind, his presence dominated the space. He wore all black, slacks and a fitted t-shirt that revealed arms covered in intricate tattoos that snaked from his wrists to disappear beneath the fabric. His dark hair was styled back from his face, revealing the sharp angles of his profile when he turned. Gosh, he was beautiful. Dangerously, devastatingly beautiful in a way that made her mouth go dry. "Miss Knox." His voice was deep, accented, carefully controlled. "Thank you for coming. I almost didn't." The words came out before she could stop them. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "I know." He moved toward a bar cart, poured 2 glasses of something amber. When he handed her one, their fingers brushed. His hands were scarred across the knuckles. "I don't drink," she said. "It's tea. Whiskey barrel aged." He took a sip of his own. "Sit. Please." She perched on the edge of a leather sofa that probably had a price tag meant to intimidate. He sat across from her, perfectly still, and studied her with dark eyes that seemed to see everything. "Your ex-boyfriend is a thief and a liar," Eugene said calmly. "And the industry is letting him profit from it because it's easier than admitting they were fooled." Riva's throat tightened. "Yes. You want revenge." It wasn't a question. She met his gaze. "I want my life back." "Same thing." He set down his glass. "I can give you both. A contract with Zenith. Full creative control. The best producers in the industry. A PR team that will clean up this mess and reposition you as exactly what you are, a generational talent who was stolen from." "Why?" The word came out sharp. "Why would you do that?" Eugene was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. 3 years ago, I went to a small venue in Silver Lake. You were singing a cover of Summertime. You had 20 people in the audience and a backing track from a laptop. And you sang like you were performing at the Hollywood Bowl." Her breath caught. She remembered that night. She'd been so tired, her voice raw from a cold, but she'd needed the $200 the venue paid. "I've been tracking your career ever since," Eugene continued. "Waiting for your moment. When I heard what happened with your song," his jaw tightened. "No one steals from someone under my protection. And you've been under my protection since the night I first heard you sing, whether you knew it or not." The words should have been creepy, possessive, wrong. Instead, they sent heat curling through her stomach. "What do you want in return?" she asked. "Your signature. Your trust. Your willingness to let me handle Kevin and anyone else who stands in your way." His eyes locked with hers. "I don't want your music. I don't want your money. I want to watch you become what you were always meant to be. Why? Because your voice is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And beautiful things should be protected. Riva's hands shook as she set down her untouched tea. Every instinct told her this was dangerous. That Kong Eugene was a predator in gentleman's clothing, that his world was violence dressed up as business, that accepting his help would tie her to something dark and complicated. But when she looked at him, she didn't see cruelty. She saw hunger, yes, an intensity that made her skin prickle, but also something like reverence. And she was so tired of being betrayed by people who were supposed to love her. I'll sign, she said. But I have conditions. Name them. I keep creative control. Always. No one touches my music without my permission. Agreed. And if I say stop, if any of this becomes something I don't want, you stop. No matter what. Eugene leaned forward, his forearms resting on his knees. The tattoos on his arms rippled with the movement. Riva. I will burn down this entire city before I let anyone hurt you again. But I will never take your choice away. You have my word. The way he said her name, low and careful, like it was something precious, made her shiver. Then we have a deal. He produced a contract from a folder on the table. She read it carefully, surprised to find it exactly as he'd promised. Generous terms, creative control clauses that most artists would kill for, a PR strategy that was surgical in its precision. She signed. Eugene signed beneath her name, his handwriting elegant and precise. When he looked up, something had shifted in his expression. Satisfaction. Possession. Your ex-boyfriend has 3 endorsement deals, he said calmly. He'll lose all of them by Monday. His label will receive evidence of his theft, evidence they can't ignore, by Tuesday. And by the end of the month, Riva Knox will be the only name anyone remembers from this story. How? She whispered. Eugene stood, moving to the windows. The city spread out before him like a kingdom. I told you. Beautiful things should be protected. Kevin will learn what happens when you steal from someone I've claimed. Claimed. The word hung in the air between them, electric and dangerous. Riva should have been afraid. Instead, as she looked at the lethal beautiful man who just promised to end this, she felt something else entirely. She felt safe. The studio Eugene gave her was a temple to sound. Riva stood in the center of the space, turning slowly, trying to process what she was seeing. The booth was soundproofed with technology she'd only read about. The mixing board was state-of-the-art, all glowing screens and precise controls. Guitars, vintage, pristine, lined one wall. A grand piano sat in the corner, its surface gleaming. This is mine, she asked. Eugene stood in the doorway, his presence filling the space even though he hadn't moved. For as long as you need it. The producers on your schedule are the best in the industry. They've all signed NDAs. What you create here stays yours until you're ready to release it. She ran her fingers over the piano keys, emotion tightening her throat. I don't know how to thank you. Sing. It was a command, soft but absolute. She looked at him, found him watching her with that same intensity from the first night, like she was something rare and sacred. Heat crept up her neck. Now? I haven't heard you since that night in Silver Lake. 3 years is too long. There was no music, no backing track. Just her and him and this beautiful space. Riva sat at the piano, let her fingers find the opening chords of a song she'd written last year, never performed. When she started singing, she felt it, that shift that happened when music became truth. Her voice filled the studio, rich and aching, telling a story about loneliness and longing and the desperate hope that somewhere, someone was listening. She didn't look at Eugene. She couldn't. But she felt his attention on her like a physical touch, burning and absolute. When the last note faded, silence settled. Then, devastating. She glanced up. Eugene had moved closer, standing just outside the booth. His expression was unguarded for the first time since she'd met him, raw hunger and something deeper, darker, that made her breath catch. That's what you are, he said quietly. Devastating. The word hung between them, charged with meaning. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. The moment shattered. Eugene's expression shuttered, returning to that careful control. Your PR team will contact you this evening. Your first interview is scheduled for Thursday. You'll discuss the truth about Bloodline, and announce your new single. I haven't finished a new single. You will. He headed for the door, then paused. Riva. If you need anything, if anyone makes you uncomfortable, if you feel unsafe, you call me. Not your manager. Not security. Me. He placed a card on the piano. His private number. Why are you doing this? She asked again, because she still didn't understand. Eugene looked at her for a long moment. Because the world tried to silence you. And I've spent 3 years wanting to hear you sing. He left before she could find words. The comeback was surgical. Within a week, Kevin lost 2 of his endorsement deals. The brands issued careful statements about reviewing partnerships and aligning with our values. Industry blogs started running pieces questioning his claims about Bloodline, citing anonymous sources who'd been in the studio when Riva wrote it. Her first interview aired on Thursday night, a sympathetic sit-down with a respected journalist who let her tell her story without interruption. Riva spoke calmly about the theft, about the heartbreak of betrayal, about her determination to reclaim her narrative. She was poised, honest, vulnerable without being weak. The internet exploded. #JusticeForRiva trended for 3 days. Musicians came forward with their own stories of theft and industry betrayal. Kevin's remaining endorsement deal evaporated. His label released a statement about investigating the claims. And through it all, Eugene orchestrated everything from the shadows. He never took credit. Never appeared publicly at her side. But Riva felt his influence in every perfectly timed statement, every door that suddenly opened, every obstacle that mysteriously disappeared. He also came to the studio. Not every day, he was too busy running an empire, but enough that Riva started expecting him. He'd arrive late at night, usually around 11, always dressed in dark colors that made him look like a beautiful shadow. He never interrupted her work. He'd sit in the corner, perfectly still, and listen while she sang or worked through melodies with her producers. Sometimes they talked after. Small conversations that revealed carefully curated pieces of him, his childhood in Seoul, his move to Los Angeles at 19, his methodical building of an empire that now spanned continents. He never mentioned the rumors about his other business. The whispers about the syndicate, about his control over the city's underworld, about what happened to people who crossed him. Riva didn't ask. Some truths were safer left unspoken. But she noticed things. The scars on his knuckles. The way his security team moved with military precision. The phone calls he'd take outside, returning with his expression harder, his eyes colder. The danger should have frightened her. Instead, it drew her in like gravity. "You're staring," Eugene said one night. They were alone in the studio. Her producers had left hours ago, but Riva had stayed, working on lyrics. Eugene had arrived around midnight, settling into his usual corner with a laptop. "You're interesting to look at," she said, too tired to filter herself. His eyes lifted from the screen. Even in the dim light, they were intense. Interesting. Beautiful. The word escaped before she could stop it. "You're beautiful. In a terrifying way. Terrifying." He set aside the laptop, stood. Crossed to where she sat at the piano. "Is that how you see me?" "Yes. No. Both. I see a man who scares everyone except me." "I scare you." It wasn't a question. "Sometimes." She met his gaze. "But not the way you think. You scare me because when I'm around you, I forget to be careful." Eugene's jaw tightened. He raised one hand, hesitated, then tucked a curl behind her ear. His fingers were gentle despite the scars. "You shouldn't trust me." "I know. I'm not a good man, Riva." "I don't believe that." "Then you're naive." But he didn't move away. His hand lingered against her cheek, his thumb brushing her jawline. "Everything I've done for you, it's selfish. I told myself it was about protecting you. About justice. But that's not the whole truth." Her heart was hammering. "What's the truth?" "I want you." His voice dropped, rough and honest. "I've wanted you since the first time I heard you sing. And every day that I see you, every moment I spend watching you create, it gets worse. You're under my skin, Riva. And I don't know how to be honorable about it." She should have pulled back. Should have remembered that he was dangerous, that his world was violence, that getting involved with him was a catastrophic idea. Instead, she leaned into his touch. "What if I don't want you to be honorable?" His control cracked. She saw it in the way his eyes darkened, the way his breath caught. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I never do." She stood, bringing them face to face. Even in heels, she barely reached his shoulder. "Kiss me, Riva. Kiss me, Eugene." He made a sound low in his throat, half surrender, half victory. Then his mouth was on hers, and the world caught fire. He kissed like he did everything else, with complete control and devastating intensity. His hands cupped her face, angling her exactly where he wanted her while his mouth claimed hers thoroughly, possessively. Riva gasped against his lips, and he deepened the kiss, his tongue sliding against hers in a rhythm that made her knees weak. She gripped his shoulders, felt muscle flex beneath her palms. The tattoos on his arms pressed against her skin where he touched her waist, pulling her closer. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "This is a mistake," he said roughly. "Probably." She traced the line of his jaw, fascinated by the contrast between his sharp beauty and the heat in his eyes. "Do you care?" "No." He kissed her again, softer this time but no less consuming. "Not even a little." Kevin fought back, of course. 2 weeks after Riva's interview, he filed a lawsuit claiming co-ownership of Bloodline and demanding damages. His legal team leaked the filing to the press, painting Riva as an ungrateful partner trying to erase his contributions. Riva found out when her phone started blowing up at 7 in the morning. She was still in bed, exhausted from a late studio session, when the texts started rolling in. "She called Eugene." He answered on the first ring. "I know. My lawyers are handling it. He's suing me for $2 million. He won't win. I have the original demos with timestamps, the producer notes, the session logs. He has nothing but lies." Eugene's voice was calm, but she heard the edge beneath it. "Riva, look at me." She realized he'd switched to video. His face filled her screen, sharp and serious, his hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. "This is desperation," he said. "Kevin knows he's losing. This is his last move, and it will fail. Trust me." "I do trust you." The words came easily now. "But I'm tired of him hurting me." Something shifted in Eugene's expression. "Then let me hurt him back." "Eugene. Not physically. I won't touch him. But I can destroy everything he's built. Say the word, and by the end of the week, Kevin will have nothing." She should have said no. Should have taken the high road, been the bigger person, let karma handle it. But she was so tired of being the victim. "Do it," she whispered. Eugene's smile was sharp and beautiful and absolutely controlled. "Consider it done." Her new single, a song called Phoenix that she'd written in white-hot fury, dropped 3 days later. It charted at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 within 48 hours. The music video, directed by an Oscar winner Eugene had personally culled, was a cinematic masterpiece. Riva rising from ashes, her voice powerful and defiant, every frame screaming resilience and rebirth. Kevin's lawsuit quietly disappeared. His lawyer withdrew, citing irreconcilable differences with the client. Industry insiders started reporting that his label was dropping him, that his remaining projects were being cancelled, that no one would return his calls. Riva watched it happen from Eugene's penthouse, curled against his side on the leather sofa while the city glittered below them. "Do you feel guilty?" he asked, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. "No." She looked up at him. "Should I?" "Most people would." "I'm not most people." She shifted, straddling his lap. His hands immediately went to her waist, holding her steady. "And you're not just doing this for me. You enjoy it." Eugene's smile was dark. "I'm a bad man, remember?" She kissed his jaw, his neck, felt his pulse jump beneath her lips. "My bad man." He groaned, his grip tightening. "Riva." "Yes. I need you to be sure." His voice was strained. "Because once I have you, I won't let go. Ever." She pulled back to look at him. His face was flushed, his eyes dark with want, but also something deeper, a vulnerability he only ever showed her. "I'm sure," she said. "I've been sure since you first kissed me." He stood in one fluid motion, carrying her like she weighed nothing. Bedroom. Now. Demanding. You have no idea. He was right. She didn't. But as he laid her on his bed and showed her exactly how obsessed he'd been, his touch leaving her breathless, his presence overwhelming in all the ways she hadn't known she needed, his voice rough with praise and desire, she discovered that she liked his demands just fine. The attack came during her performance at the Orpheum Theatre. Riva was 3 songs into her first public concert in months, a carefully orchestrated event that Eugene had arranged through his connections. The venue was packed with industry insiders, influencers, and fans who'd fought for tickets. She was singing Phoenix, her voice soaring over the crowd, when the lights cut out. Emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red. Riva stopped mid-verse, her heart pounding. In the audience, she saw Eugene's security team moving, their bodies tense. Then her voice came through the speakers, but wrong. Distorted. Someone had hacked the sound system and was playing a corrupted version of Bloodline, the audio warped and nightmarish. Panic rippled through the crowd. Eugene appeared at her side, so fast she didn't see him move. Off stage. Now. But. Now, Riva. His tone left no room for argument. She let him guide her into the wings, where more of his security team waited. They surrounded her like a human shield, moving her toward the backstage exit. What's happening? She asked. Someone sent a message. Eugene's voice was ice. A very stupid someone. They got her into an SUV with tinted windows. Eugene climbed in beside her, already on the phone, speaking Korean. The car pulled away from the venue, surrounded by 2 others. Riva's hands were shaking. Was it Kevin? No. He's too small for this. Eugene ended his call, turned to her. Even in the dim interior, his eyes were intense. One of the rival syndicates is trying to send me a message. They think hurting you will hurt me. Will it? Yes. The word was simple, absolute. So I'm going to destroy them. The casual way he said it, like he was discussing the weather, should have terrified her. Instead, she felt a strange calm settling over her. I'm not leaving you, she said. Riva. I know what you are, Eugene. I've always known. And I'm not running. She took his hand, threaded her fingers through his scarred knuckles. We're in this together. Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe, or gratitude. He pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her. You're going to get me killed one day. How? Because I'll burn the world down before I let anyone hurt you. And that kind of recklessness is dangerous. She pressed her face against his neck, breathed him in. Then don't let anyone hurt me. His laugh was dark and beautiful. Not a chance in hell. The war was quiet but devastating. Over the next week, the rival syndicate, a group called the Silk Circle that controlled parts of the Asian import market, lost 2 shipping contracts, had 3 of their front businesses raided by federal agents, and saw their leader's son arrested on weapons charges. Eugene orchestrated it all from his penthouse, making calls in Korean and Mandarin while Riva worked on new music in his private studio. He'd moved her into his home for safety, assigning a full security detail that followed her everywhere. At first, the protection felt suffocating. But Riva quickly realized that Eugene's people were ghosts, present but invisible, giving her space while keeping her safe. And at night, when Eugene finally left his war room and came to bed, he held her like she was the only solid thing in his world. Tell me about Seoul, she said one night, her head on his chest. Why? Because I want to know everything about you. He was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. I left when I was 19. My father was traditional. He wanted me to follow him into the family business, in Seoul. I wanted more. So you came here. With nothing but ambition and anger. His voice was soft, reflective. I built everything from the ground up. Made connections. Proved myself. Became indispensable. He paused. And along the way, I became someone my 19-year-old self wouldn't recognize. I don't believe that, Riva said. I think you became exactly who you were always meant to be. A monster. She lifted her head to look at him. A king. There's a difference. His smile was sad and beautiful. You see me too clearly. Good. She kissed him, slow and deep. I like what I see. They came together after that, tender and intense, his presence surrounding her as he whispered Korean words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. Later, wrapped in his arms, she asked, "What did you say?" "Before, in Korean. That you're mine. That I'll protect you with my last breath. That I love you." Her heart stopped. Eugene. I know it's too soon. I know this is complicated. But I've loved you since the first time I heard you sing, Riva. And I'll love you long after this city turns to dust. She kissed him, tasting salt, his or hers, she wasn't sure. I love you too. My dangerous, beautiful king. Kevin made his final play 2 weeks later. He'd partnered with the Silk Circle, trading information about Eugene's operations for their help sabotaging Riva's career. Together, they planned to leak fabricated evidence that Riva had used ghostwriters, that her comeback was manufactured, that she was sleeping with Eugene for career advancement. They didn't count on Eugene's network. He knew about the plan before Kevin sent the first email. And by the time Kevin tried to execute it, Eugene had already dismantled every piece of the strategy. The evidence was exposed as fabricated before it could spread. Kevin's involvement with the Silk Circle, a criminal organization, was leaked to law enforcement. And the final piece, undeniable proof that Kevin had stolen Bloodline, complete with timestamp demos, session logs, and testimony from the engineers who'd worked with Riva. It went viral within hours. Kevin's career imploded completely. His label dropped him. His remaining fans turned on him. Industry blacklisting wasn't official, but it was absolute. No one would work with him, sign him, or acknowledge his existence. He tried to bury Riva. Instead, he'd buried himself. Riva watched the fallout from Eugene's Penthouse, her new single, a song called Unbreakable, climbing the charts while her ex-boyfriend became a cautionary tale. I should feel bad, she said. Eugene came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. But you don't. No. She leaned back against his chest. He tried to destroy me. He deserves this. Yes, he does. Eugene kissed her temple. And you deserve everything you're about to have. The Grammys are going to nominate you, Riva. Multiple categories. She turned in his arms. How do you know? Because I know people. Because your music is extraordinary. Because the world is finally paying attention to what I've known for 3 years. You're a once-in-a-generation talent. Tears pricked her eyes. You're biased. Completely. He cupped her face, his thumbs brushing away the tears that fell. And I don't care. I'm biased, I'm obsessed, I'm completely gone for you. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it. The rest of your life, she whispered. Did you think this was temporary? Eugene's smile was soft and devastating. Riva. You're it for me. The only one. Forever. She kissed him, pouring everything into it, gratitude and love and desire and promise. When they finally pulled apart, Eugene said, I have something for you. He led her to the piano, where a folder waited. Inside were contracts, for a world tour, a documentary, collaborations with artists she'd admired her entire life. All pending your approval, he said. But this is your future, Riva. This is everything you've worked for. She looked at the contracts, then at him, this beautiful, dangerous man who'd given her back her dreams. I want it all, she said. But only if you're there with me. Always. He pulled her close. I'm not going anywhere. The award show was everything. Riva stood backstage at the AMA, her heart racing as the presenter announced her category. She was nominated for Best New Artist alongside 4 other talented people, but the whispers in the industry said she had it locked. Eugene stood beside her, striking in a black suit that spoke fluently of money and restraint. His hand rested on the small of her back, possessive and grounding. And the winner is... The presenter opened the envelope. Riva Knox. The world exploded into sound and light. Riva barely registered walking to the stage, accepting the award, delivering a speech she'd prepared but couldn't remember. All she knew was that when she looked into the audience, Eugene was watching her with such pride and love that it made her chest ache. Later, at the after-party, industry executives who'd ignored her months ago clamored for her attention. Riva smiled, shook hands, accepted congratulations. But her eyes kept finding Eugene across the room, her anchor, her protector, her love. She found him on the balcony, looking out at the Los Angeles skyline. "You should be inside," he said without turning. "This is your night. It's our night." She wrapped her arms around him from behind. "I wouldn't be here without you." He turned, pulling her close. "You would have made it eventually. You're too talented not to." "Maybe. But it wouldn't have meant as much." She looked up at him. "You gave me more than a career, Eugene. You gave me my voice back. My power. Myself." "No." He cupped her face, his touch infinitely gentle. "I just protected what was always yours. You did the rest." She kissed him there on the balcony, not caring who might see. Let them look. Let them whisper. She was done hiding any part of herself. When they finally went back inside, hand in hand, the message was clear: they were together. A power couple in every sense of the word. The Grammy nominations came in November. Riva woke to her phone exploding with notifications. She grabbed it, still half asleep, and scrolled through the messages. 7 nominations. 7. Album of the Year. Record of the Year. Song of the Year. Best New Artist. Best Pop Vocal Album. Best Pop Solo Performance. Producer of the Year. She sat up in bed, her hands shaking. Beside her, Eugene stirred. "What's wrong?" His voice was rough with sleep. "I'm nominated for 7 Grammys." He was immediately alert, pulling her into his arms. "Of course you are. I told you." She laughed, the sound half-sob. "This is insane. A year ago I was. A year ago you were exactly who you are now, brilliant, talented, unstoppable. The only difference is that now the world knows it." She kissed him, deep and grateful. "Thank you. For everything." "Don't thank me. This is all you, Riva." He pulled back to look at her, his expression serious. "But I need to tell you something." Her heart skipped. "What?" "The Silk Circle is gone. Completely. I've erased their influence in every market they touched." He paused, letting the weight of it settle. "Which means the board is clean. No rivals. No threats. No one coming for what's mine." "Eugene." "I'm reshaping the syndicate," he continued calmly. "Consolidating power. Making it something that won't swallow us whole." His thumb brushed her cheek. "I want a life with you, not a quieter one, not a safer one. A life where no one can use you to get to me." His gaze didn't waver. "No more chaos. No more unnecessary blood. Just control. Structure. Power that doesn't need to announce itself." His thumb traced her jaw. "And you won't live in fear of what comes with me." Tears slid down her cheeks. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He wiped her tears with his thumbs. "You make me want to be better, Riva. You make me want to be the man you see when you look at me." "I love you," she whispered. "So much." "I love you too." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "Marry me." Time stopped. "What?" Eugene reached into the nightstand, pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, a perfect glittering diamond that caught the morning light. "Marry me, Riva. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, loving you, watching you conquer the world. Say yes." She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. So she just nodded, tears streaming, while he slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. The Grammys were in February. Riva wore a custom gown midnight blue that hugged her curves and made her feel like a queen. Eugene was devastating in all black, his hand never leaving hers as they walked the red carpet. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Riva smiled, waved, let the world see her happiness. She won 4 Grammys that night. 4. Record of the Year. Song of the Year. Best New Artist. Best Pop Vocal Album. By the end of the ceremony, she could barely process it. She sat in the audience, surrounded by legends, with 4 golden gramophones at her feet and the love of her life beside her. When they finally called her name for the final performance of the night, Riva took the stage alone. The lights dimmed. A single spotlight found her. She sang Unbreakable, her voice raw and powerful, telling the story of everything she'd survived. The betrayal, the fall, the rebuilding, the love that had saved her. When she hit the final note, the audience erupted. And in the wings, Eugene watched, a quiet intensity tightening his features. After the show, in the car on the way to the after-party, Riva curled against his side. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said. "Yes, you could have. But I'm honored I got to be here for it." He kissed her hair. "I'm so proud of you, Riva. So impossibly proud. I'm proud of us." She looked up at him. "We built this together. Your empire, my music. Our life." "Our life," he repeated, like he was testing the words. Then he smiled, a real open smile that transformed his whole face. "I like the sound of that." 1 year later, Riva woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of jasmine tea. She stretched, her body deliciously sore from the previous night, and padded out to the balcony of the glass-walled home she and Eugene had built together in the Hollywood Hills. He was already there, watching the sunrise over Los Angeles with 2 steaming mugs on the table beside him. When he heard her, he turned, and his smile was everything. "Good morning, Mrs. Kong." She'd never get tired of hearing that. They'd married 6 months ago in a private ceremony in Seoul, just close friends and family, no press, no spectacle. Just them and their promises and a future that stretched out bright and certain. "Good morning, husband." She settled into his lap, and he wrapped his arms around her waist. "You let me sleep in. You need the rest. The tour starts next month." Her world tour, 60 cities across 5 continents. Her dream made real. "Come with me," she said, "not for the first time." "I will. For most of it." He kissed her shoulder. "But you need to do some of it alone, Riva. This is your moment. Your triumph. I'll be there in the shadows when you need me, but the spotlight belongs to you." She turned to look at him. Even now, a year into marriage, his beauty still took her breath away. But it was what lay beneath, the loyalty, the devotion, the fierce protectiveness tempered with respect for her autonomy, that made her love him more each day. "I don't want to do anything without you," she said. "You won't have to. I'm yours, Riva. For the rest of our lives." He pulled her closer. "Now drink your tea and tell me about the new song you were working on last night." She'd been writing when he'd come home from a late meeting, and the work session had turned into something much more physical. But she'd finished the melody in her head, hummed it to him while they stayed tangled together. "It's called Empire," she said. "About building something beautiful from nothing. About finding home in a person instead of a place. Sing it for me." So she did, there on the balcony with the city waking beneath them. Her voice filled the morning air, telling their story through melody and metaphor. When she finished, Eugene's eyes were bright. "It's perfect," he said roughly. "You're perfect." "We're perfect," she corrected. He kissed her then, slow and deep and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Riva rested her forehead against his. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" she asked. "When you first heard me sing in that dive bar?" "No." His hands cupped her face, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. "I thought I'd spend the rest of my life wanting something I could never have. Instead, I got everything I never knew I needed." Poetic for a Mafia boss. He laughed. "I'm mostly a boring media mogul now." "You're never boring." She kissed him again. "You're dangerous and beautiful and mine." "Yours," he agreed. "Always yours." They stayed there as the sun climbed higher, wrapped in each other and the life they'd built. Around them, Los Angeles glittered, a city of dreams that had tried to destroy Riva Knox and instead had given her everything. Her music. Her voice. Her power. And the man who'd protected her not by taking over, but by standing beside her while she rebuilt herself into something unbreakable. Later, she'd go to the studio. She'd work on new music, plan for the tour, continue building the empire she'd created from ashes and determination. But right now, she was exactly where she needed to be, in Eugene's arms, watching the city wake, secure in the knowledge that whatever came next, they'd face it together. "Your voice built an empire in me," Eugene said softly, echoing words he'd spoken 100 times before. Riva smiled, her heart full to bursting. And you gave me the world to sing in. They kissed as the morning sun bathed them in gold, two worlds fused, two hearts steady, two futures intertwined. Warm, romantic, powerful, forever.